All right, welcome to the January community call, the One Life community call, and we're doing these every single month. They're the second Wednesday of every month, and our goal here is to really facilitate and create an opportunity and a space for you guys to get closer towards living and creating a life that you dream of, and that's really what One Life's here to do. And so we're going to be bringing you different experts and different topics, and today we'll be talking a lot about goal setting. Next month, we're going to be talking about relationships. It's going to be right around Valentine's Day, so lots of cool stuff. And we've got a jam-packed agenda for today. So we're going to hear from some One Life community members. We have some people who have gone through some really great transformations, and we're going to have to hear from them. And then I know Tim wanted to provide an opportunity and a space for you guys to pitch or share whatever it is that you guys are working on, because that's one of One Life's goals, to really provide a platform for other people to find out about the amazing things that you guys have going on. Then we're going to turn it over to our expert of the evening, Matty A, and he's going to talk about his new brand new planner that just came out, the Rich Life Planner, and he'll cover some goods on that, and we'll talk about our 15-day goal-getting challenge that will be starting officially tomorrow as well. So, Tim, I think I did it. Now to you.
Cool. Hey, thank you everybody for being on. Like Hector said, we plan to do these every month. If you weren't with us last month, if you've ever read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, that's what we're trying to recreate here, is the temple of wisdom they had in The Richest Man in Babylon. 6,000 years ago in ancient Babylon, it didn't matter if you were, quote, the richest Babylon, a tradesman, whatever you did, or even a slave. They all got together in the city square and learned how to dream, plan, and live their best lives. They literally use those terms: dream it, plan it, live it. It's amazing. Yeah, right. So that's what we're going to recreate here, is that temple of learning. And I see a lot of people on this call who are on their way and well on their way. We suggest you bring your friends, relatives, and kids who are just starting out, who are just learning this stuff. This is, you guys know our mission. We want to help those from all walks of life. So please put it in your calendar for the next one is February 13th at 5 o'clock, and every month, second Wednesday. Just chuck it in your calendar now and make it a date. So this call is all about helping you start your 2019 with a bang. And if you look up in the chat, Hector put in Matty A's planner. And if you haven't downloaded that yet, please do, because that's the tool he's going to be going over later on in this call. But two things are going to happen first. One, we're going to have you do a 30 to 45 second elevator speech. Okay, just your pitch, who you are, what you do, and if you want to put your business in the chat, that's okay. Okay, this is a community call. We're all selling to each other, and maybe somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. You never know. So that's number one, is we're going to do that 45-second pitch, 30 to 45-second pitch. Please don't go on for 2 minutes. Okay. Number two, we're going to have our good friend Rhonda Smith, who knows a lot about this process. I've seen Rhonda blossom from coming to her first conference 4 years ago to coming out of it and really with a bang, but maybe not down the right path. And what she's going to talk about is something really important to all of us here, and it's called the gestation period. And it's that period from when you get tuned in and turned on and think you're going to go rocket from there, and then the real world of how hard that actually is, what it takes, and how long it takes. So I'm really happy to have my good friend Rhonda, who lives in One Life Fully Lived World Headquarters, Portola, California. So with that, who's got the first elevator pitch? Speak up.
I think, Tim, it would be better for Rhonda to go first. I know we talked about throwing people on the spot, but Rhonda's been preparing this a little bit. So I'm going to buy some people
Set the stage, Rhonda.
a little bit more time. And I think for the flow, it'd be great to hear Rhonda's stuff and put in perspective kind of what even to share, frankly.
Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah, so my name is Rhonda Smith. My website is cosmicsmith.com. There's also a podcast out there called Cosmic Smith Radio. And essentially, I help people find their truth, and I help them stand naked in it. And if you can see that image of like standing naked fully in who you are and expressing yourself and being completely who you are, not who you think you are, or not who you think others want you to be, is the business that I do. And the reason that I do this is because this was probably the part that was lacking most in my life. So Hector, you want me to talk about what I was going to talk about, like the One Life process, or you want me just to talk about my elevator?
No, I think that it'd be great to share the gestation process.
Okay, yeah. So, there's a really important gestation period that happens as we awaken. And for a lot of people, that could be stepping into purpose or stepping into what you think you're here to do, or, a lot of times it's creating goals or dreams. The wording is different. It just really kind of depends on you. But what I think we have a misconception of is that there's a one size fits all, or that there's one method to do this. And if you read a lot of books out there, or you listen to podcasts, like pretty much people talk about their journey, and we live in this state where we're constantly trying to live in this visualized place of how we want our lives to be. Well, I spent a lot of time spinning out after I went to my first One Life event, which was 6 years ago. Yeah. Wow. Right. And I couldn't figure out why I was spinning out and like why it wasn't working for me. And the part that really wasn't working for me is that I wasn't being real with who I was. And me constantly trying to visualize this like expanded or elevated state kept me in a space of not being real with the information. And in each moment, there's information waiting for us. And if we can learn to be very present to what is real, we can gain information. So when we have fear, when we have anger, when we have any emotion, there's information in it. And I think that there's a lot of information out there that kind of promotes us to always be in this happy or elevated state, or that we need to be positive all the time. And that just didn't work for me. It wasn't real for me. I felt like I was kind of lying to myself all the time if I was trying to pretend to be something that I wasn't, because I really did have all these deep feelings. Well, what I found in the truth was that it was all the information that I needed. So when I stopped trying to live in the vision, and I think it's very important to have a vision. It's very important to know where you're headed. It's very important to understand what it is you're trying to achieve. But in the law of gestation, there's a really beautiful thing that happens is often we don't land exactly where we think we're going to land. And it doesn't look anything like we think it's going to look. It's going to look as it's going to look. And it takes the time that it takes. It takes the time that it takes. And if we can surrender to that process and learn how to feel through the things, we get the information we need. Because if you arrive too soon, you won't have what you need. And if you spend too long in one area, or you're really trying to create the right thing, you're going to miss out on where you're meant to be. So that visualizing process, be careful with it. Just be careful with it. Understand where you're headed, but spend time in the present. I find that there's way more information there. Let's take a look at my notes here. Okay, so how do we sit in what is real? And this part is really interesting for a lot of people because it's the gestation. Like, people look at a lot of emotions as negative. Anger is a negative emotion, or, you don't want to be around people you feel that have like a different vibration. And I hear this all the time. It's like, you do want to be around the people that are on the same mission as you. But often when we only put ourselves in a room with people that feel the way we feel, we might be missing out on some of our learning. So when somebody triggers you or something triggers you in a situation, there's an opportunity to grow there. And it might be something that you need for your goal, or it might be something you need in your business. So being present to fear is a perfect example. A lot of people think that fear isn't real, and I don't have that same feeling about fear. I think that fear is my friend. When fear is present in my life, it's showing me that I need to pay attention. It's showing me something that I need to pay attention to and go into. And when we can walk into our fear or through our fear, the only way out is through. And this is where, a lot of my path really started to change, is when I went into the things that were making me uncomfortable. Because, like, for example, I just wrote a book, and it was a big process for me. I've been wanting to do this for 5 years. And if I didn't understand how to sit in the discomfort of creation, because not all creation is beautiful. It's not like I'm sitting where there's a beach view and, you're sitting with your truth of, I don't know what it is to write next. And if you can't sit with the friction of those feelings, then it can be very hard to create. So learning how to sit in the depths of our soul, which you can do through shamanic work, you can do through sound healing. There's a lot of different things that you can do to help yourself be able to go through the process. And the most important part of this whole thing is that you have to know who you are. And I don't mean the who you are that you want everyone else to think you are, or the who you are you've become because that's the avatar that you created, or who you think other people want you to be. You have to be who you are. And I think somewhere we kind of got this idea that we're all supposed to be the same person, or we're all supposed to have the same goal. And that really just isn't the truth. Like, I don't want to know what you know that everyone else knows. I want to know what you know. And I want to know how weird you are when you're home alone at night. And that's the version of you I want to know. And when you can live in that person and share your truth with kindness and compassion, everything kind of just falls into place. And I'm a big fan of being over doing. And it doesn't mean when we find a place of being that we sit on our couch and we don't do anything. It means that we are able to lean back and observe at what's happening, allow synchronicity, take action, put ourselves forward into things. But if we're constantly focused in on this one goal and we have massive tunnel vision, we're missing everything in that the universe or nature or whatever it is that you believe is waiting for us out here. So maybe you find your own balance of what works for you, but there's no one method to this. It's just being present to the truth of yourself and who you really are, I think, is the secret to finding your way.
Very cool. So what's some of the things you did that helped you along your path? That, we see so many that just get down this one road and keep going there and then saying, oh, darn, it didn't work. And I've seen you really just keep adjusting and fine tuning till you got it right. So how did you do that?
Yeah, well, it's a matter of of having a mindset of the result doesn't matter. When I stopped caring about the outcome and I simply created something because it was my dharma, it was what was coming through me. I believe that our purpose is why we think are here. Our dharma is why we are actually here. So it's the information that's brought through us. It's why our life's purpose is. It's every moment and experience that we've gone through. And if you can allow yourself to be in creation, presently in the moment of creation, and being okay with not exactly sure how it's going to turn out or if it's going to be received, but it's simply meant for you to share. That mindset helped me immensely. It helped me write a book. It helped me start to create things because I was so worried about having this perfection or this outcome that was so perfect that it completely paralyzed me from creating. So trusting in myself, trusting in the process, and being okay if it wasn't received. Like, I just wrote a book, as I said, and if no one ever read this book, if no one ever bought a copy of this book, I would totally be okay with it because of the process in which I got to go through it, to learn, to sit down, to write a book, to sit in the friction of not wanting to write but having to write anyway, or to be comfortable in the fact that, I hear a lot, and I hear this a lot in the communities I'm a part of, where it's like, I don't feel like creating today. Well, you got to get comfortable in creation. Like, there's a requirement. You need to be able to sit down and sit in it. And learning how to sit in your discomfort is the secret. Because I found that every time I was uncomfortable in creation for business, I would need to go make tea, or I would need to go to the bathroom, or my dog would need to go out, or I would always find a reason not to sit down and be in the discomfort. So, I think the most incredible thing you can do is get comfortable in your discomfort.
Comfortable in your discomfort. It's beautiful. Anybody on here have any questions for Rhonda? Hector, you got any follow-ups or anything?
I have one other thing I'd like to say.
Yeah.
How often in your life do you tell a white lie? This is so impactful. When you think about how many times in your day that you tell just a small lie, and it may be a lie that's as simple as, You didn't really want to get off the couch and leave on time, but when you got there, you told them that traffic was heavy. That information of you not being in that level of truth with yourself really disconnects you from your potential as a human. So the more often you can be in total truth with how you live your life and the decisions you make, I think it completely puts you in alignment with what it is that you're creating.
Wow, it's beautiful. Really good stuff here, Rhonda.
Thanks for letting me share.
The reason I wanted her on, you guys, is, sometimes some of these communities can seem, or especially on Facebook, it's the happy place where everything's perfect and everyone's life's perfect and everyone's a best-selling author and the best coach. You know what I mean? And we all know the truth. This shit isn't easy, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of work. And that's one thing we always want to be very truthful is it's a long road to create an amazing life. But guess what? You got the time and you're worth it. That's the good news. So Rhonda, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Tim.
Yeah. So Hector, what's next? By the way, does everybody see Capstan? Hold him up proudly, Hector.
He just got his first haircut today, so he's looking rather dapper.
Yeah, that's Capstan Dream.
Guys, I'd love for somebody to step up and share, what they've got going on. I know, people pay tons of money to have an audience like this and to be able to pitch, and share kind of their projects. So I'd love for someone to take us up on that opportunity.
I'll go. I'm happy to go.
Boom! Look at that chat.
Mr. Brett.
Rhonda, I love everything you said. I totally agree with it. I think a lot of it is loving yourself enough to have faith in what makes you happy and believe in following that. And that's sort of what I do and try to do. I make my living as an ear, nose, and throat surgeon, but joining GoBundance 5 years ago really changed my life and expanded my mindset in many different ways. And when I joined GoBundance, I really had a financial perspective of the goals that I wanted to pursue and change. But what has happened over time is I've really been exposed to so many different podcasts and blogs and such that I decided to sort of follow what I love. I hear every day how so many people are stressed and feeling stuck and overwhelmed, but they really want change, hope, and to feel more alive. And I remind them all the time that they're not going to go anywhere standing in place doing more of the same. And so I have always collected, since I was in college, quotes and questions and things that really sparked an epiphany in me and changed how I thought of things. And I launched January 1st of this year something called Q4 Daily Inspiration that delivers a 1-minute email to give the person who receives it just an opportunity to think more positively and differently and break through their limits and move closer to what they dream of. We all receive a tidal wave of emails, videos, podcasts, and it's overwhelming to keep up with them and sift through them and find what really speaks to you. But this platform, I hope, mines through all the noise to find some gold and shares ideas from influencers of the past, present, and even the future. It's not just quotes. It includes a question to apply to your own life, a quest to launch you to take some action in the day, and then breakthroughs from the people who've gotten these and how it affected them. And I really am having a great time with it and really being patient with it. There are several podcasts and blogs that I follow who have actually are very financially transparent. And, it takes years for social media really to become the social media superstars that we all follow and dream of being someday. I believe words have power. Words can change the way we think, the way we act, and over time, who we become. And I'm hoping this is just a seed to start people's day in a different mindset. It's more than just quotes. It's sort of quotes with legs on steroids, feeding you so that this year can be better than last year. So, and then the thing that I really follow to be true is that it is really fun doing it, and I enjoy doing it no matter what happens right now and no matter what the numbers look like. I'm just doing it because if it helps one person, that's satisfying to me at this stage.
I think that's what Rhonda called following your dharma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What's
is that your purpose, Rhonda? Is that does dharma mean purpose? Passion?
Yeah, dharma is more like why, depending upon what you believe, but like why you're divinely here. So like the innate nature of each thing that happens in your life, even if it's a hard thing, like helped create you to have an experience. So I don't think I think your purpose may have been real estate, but I think your dharma was probably one life, right? All the things you did helped you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had no idea until I was like in my 40s of why I was put here. And between 18 and 40, I was a Tasmanian devil, just chain smoking, drinking a lot of coffee, selling a lot of real estate, doing a good job for those that I worked for, but not really, going in and doing that work. And that's after I finally got some time. I looked up and went, wow, who the heck am I? So, yeah.
I think we all have moments where we are ignited and we just feel like this is why I'm alive. And sometimes we blink and move on and ignore it. And, some lucky people, whether it's Oprah or people that you see living their purpose for being alive, change the world from following that. But it does take a lot of courage. And
yeah. I want to say one more thing to that. You're on the right track when you're very emotional when you think about it. You can just feel a connection, and maybe sometimes that's false, but for the most part, I think that's been the case for me. So anybody else want to share what they do? Brett, you're very welcome to put that in the chat. And if anybody wants to put their link, how we don't sell to each other in the community? We do in the marketplace, but this is for that, okay? We want to help fellow one-lifers, crush whatever they do. So please, if you subscribe to what Brett does and you love it and it's helping you, tell 10 friends. Let's help each other grow and crush what we do. So. Anybody else? They're all just waiting for Matty A, I think. Did I cut somebody off?
Yeah, I think that one of the things is not worrying about what other people think and not worrying about the result. It's a journey, not the result.
That's beautiful, Steve. That's the books, The Surrender Experiment and Untethered Soul, both speak a lot about that.
Yeah, and it's just finding your passion and just make your passion for this year or whatever time frame you want, and like you say, don't worry about what other people think or do, and go for it.
Beautiful. Cool. Good share, Steve. And anybody else have either their own business to share or any thoughts on, the gestation period or what it takes? All right, Matty A, I think you're up. Unless Brett looks like he's pondering a thought.
Well, I think it's really helpful just to hear from people who've been there and to share experiences like this authentically and to realize that, everyone goes through struggles and has conflicts and challenges. And I think when you have that support and that community, it provides fuel to deal with conflict and deal with doubt and uncertainty. And I think One Life is a beautiful example of that.
Yeah. Just to tie that all together, it's really cool seeing extremely successful people. And Matty A is a good example of somebody who's just a freaking rocket ship that's just here, and you just watch them and you go, oh my goodness. But you also know within the community, there are people who are having a bad day, bad week, bad month, bad year. And I want us to be open and vulnerable and authentic about who we are, what the struggles are, because it doesn't do anyone else any good if we're phony about, just this, everything's perfect and nothing ever goes wrong. So, thank you all for that. So Maddie A, you are on. If anybody on this call doesn't know Maddie A, which I doubt there is, Matt, do you want to just kind of give a quick overview of who you are, what you're about, what you do, and then jump into your planner, okay?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And we have till 6 p.m. PST?
Yeah. I was hoping we might be able to do a little Q&A after if that,
Yeah, I'll what I did instead of doing the full presentation, I kind of created a cool little Word doc that I can send out to everybody, and they can use this guideline with some examples. It's a Google Word doc that has some images and some examples in there. So if you guys want to follow this process or implement it, you have the ability to take a look at that. Instead of going through a whole presentation and all that, I figured this was going to be more of a fun interactive call, and we could do some live Q&A to talk more about what, some of this looks like implemented into your life. And I'm honored to be here. First and foremost, it's always fun to connect with the One Life community, being that it's made such an impact on my life. And big shout out to Timmy and Hector for all that they do. And big shout out to Rhonda for all that she does. And just everybody else that shared and has taken the time out of their evening to be here, because I know we all have, family and events and activities and things that we love to commit to. And so this right here just tells me that your life is a priority to you and that you are willing to invest in yourself. And so I think that everybody deserves a kind of a round of applause for that. So I wanted to share with you guys, this was, the Rich Life kind of came out of One Life meshed with GoBundance and kind of my own journey over the last 5 to 10 years. And for those that don't know me, my name's Matt Aitchison, or if you can't say that last name or spell it, I just shortened it up to Matty A to make it easy for everybody. And I am, by, I guess, career or trade, a real estate investor. I have really, the last 10 years, just been on this personal development journey and really working on myself and finding out how to align with my version of a rich life. Because I think this word rich, or let's say this word wealth, everybody has a different definition of it, whether it's, camping out under the stars and, living in a tiny home, and it could be, being worth $100 million and flying around in private jets, right? It doesn't make one better than the other. They are all unique and individual to each person, and equally as important. So I think Rhonda talked a lot about it, is like getting in alignment with what that is. And I know a lot of people don't actually take time to have the ability to, create space and give themselves permission to actually envision what that could look like for them. And one of the reasons why I love goal setting, and we talked about kind of like struggles. I don't care who it is, whether it's a billionaire or, someone begging on the street, we all deal with struggles every day, right? And most of those are up in our head. And so when we can really work through some processes and have some frameworks to maybe better equip us to go out there and, succeed at a higher level, I think that is important to have. So that's why I love this community so much. And obviously a big shout out to all of the One Life team before we get started. I know Timmy threw on there, we got Susan and Brian and Casey and Cheryl, and all the people that really commit their time and work tirelessly to create space like this for all of us. I think is really important to acknowledge them too. So I'm going to just screen share with you guys. I'm going to take over the screen here for a second. And I wanted to dig into this little document. This is something that I've, over the last, I talk about 2.0ing, right? Reinventing yourself, not only every day, every week, obviously giving yourself space to reinvent new habits, new disciplines, new visions for what your life can look like, right? Because this is not something that's etched in stone. We're all living, breathing, beings, and life has its ebbs and flows. So I think the number one thing that I do each and every year, I'm just going to take you guys through, and I know Hector put the link to the Rich Life Planner in there. I know some of you have it and are using it. Really why I created this was personally, for selfish reasons for myself, because I knew that I wasn't this intentional individual. And yet I saw people that I really admired, that I wanted to model after. And so over the last 3 to 5 years, I've just been picking and pulling, from all those individuals and kind of Matty-izing it, I guess, right? Of like creating something that worked for me. And I started seeing more and more people go, hey, I like that. Like, I want to check that out. So this year we actually launched it. We sold out within 2 weeks, which was crazy. I was thinking I was going to have inventory for the whole year. And it was really fun to see how many people wanted this. And so before digging into the planner, this is the process that I go through, which then ties into how I operate within my planner. So number one, I think, is really getting and creating space for you to actually envision what a rich or what a fulfilling or what a happy or what a successful life looks like for you, right? And I think a lot of people all say, hey, I want more income, or I want to be able to travel more. I want more, freedom, or a better relationship. I want a better life. And yet they really haven't sat down intimately to engage with what that looks like. So every year I basically sit down and I do this. And I'll say this process, to most people who haven't gone through it before, it might actually seem a little intimidating or daunting or over the top. And I can tell you, it's the take 2 to 3 steps backwards to launch 10, 20, 40, 50 steps forward and do it way more effectively, way more efficiently, and having a blast while you're doing it, right? Because you're really going to be aligned with the things that will allow you to take those stepping stones and getting closer to that vision becoming an actual reality. So with that being said, I always start off as, hey, what does this rich life look like, right? Because, hey, it changes every single year. So you want to reforecast and kind of have that dangling carrot in front of you that you're moving towards, right? So looking at, what do your relationships look like with your friends, with your family, with your spouse or your partner, with your employees, your colleagues, your community, right? What does your job or your business look like? How many weeks are you working every year? How much money are you making annually in your job? How many weeks or how many hours are you working each week? Where are you traveling to? With who? How much passive income are you making in your investments? What are you investing in? What kind of car are you driving? What kind of house are you living in? Where is it located, right? What does your tribe look like? Who do you surround yourself with? Or who are you going to surround yourself with? What are you doing with them? How are they contributing to your life? How are you contributing to theirs? How much money do you have in your savings account? What's your net worth? How much money are you donating every year to what charities, what causes? How much time are you giving, right? Or volunteering, or, working on mission trips, or whatever it may be. What's your daily routine look like? Your workout, your habits, your miracle morning, whatever you want to call it. What's your health look like? And then obviously having your spirituality and, wherever that pillar falls in. So I try and get this all encompassing kind of idea and vision of like, what does it look like in 3 to 5 years? What if I could wave a magic wand, go out there and create and live for myself, right? And don't limit yourself. I mean, it could seem as grandeur and crazy as possible, and it could, be something that you just want it simple and basic, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's your vision, but you got to be able to give yourself space to create what that looks like. So as we go into this goal setting process, right? Once we know what this is and kind of where our North Star is, what we're moving towards, now it's time for the goal setting, right? And what I would say is, for me personally, I always told myself, you know what? I'm going to rely on my charisma or connecting with people, or I'm going to hard work, or I'm going to get out there and grind every day. And I can tell you, by adopting this method, it gives us clarity. When we have clarity, it becomes so much easier to navigate the road. And so part of that is setting SMART goals, right? So if you can get crystal clear in where you're going, and you can now break it down by taking all those goals, right? Getting clear on what those goals are and breaking it down and then starting to plan it out. Then it's just an execution game. I got to go in and show up every day doing what I know I need to do based on my plan and just get after it. Then it just becomes discipline, right? And then of course, along the way on the journey, you're going to tweak, you're going to optimize, you're going to track things, you're going to see where you're weak, you're going to see where you're killing it, right? And what this is most people, right? And I always relate it to relationships because it's a very easy kind of analogy. Is if I told my wife, "Hey, babe, I'm gonna be the best husband this year. I'm gonna absolutely crush being a husband," right? But then I didn't talk to her I didn't engage with her physically, emotionally, spiritually. I didn't look at her. I didn't hang around her for the entire year. And I showed up at the end of the year and asked her how I did as a husband. How do you think that would be? Well, the result would probably be pretty crappy, right? And so that's how most people approach their goals, is they're really inspired, really excited. They set this amazing intention in the beginning of the year, but then, right, life gets going and this distraction happens, or this bump in the road happens, or this turbulence, or whatever it may be, and we immediately fall back to our previous programming, our previous crutches, right? And there's a model called Point FAR. Our programming leads to how we think about things. Based on how we think about things, leads us to feel a certain way about it. Based on how we feel about certain things, we take specific actions, and based on how we act, we get specific results, which reaffirms our programming, right? So what this model does is it allows us to actually start processing and getting intimate with what is our programming, and how am I thinking, and how am I feeling, and how am I acting, right? So if you're not getting the results that you want in your life, I would invite you to not only look at that model, but also to adopt maybe some more structure and push into something that maybe you're resistant to, which is, for me, this process. So you guys have the Rich Life Planner. I go ahead and I write out in all the different categories on the planner, right? How many goals I want to have for the year. So you could write 1, you could write 2, you could take up every single line, right? This is one of our examples that one of the members filled out in our community. And what I do now is, based on this vision that I come up with up here, right? This 3 to 5 year vision, I come down here and I make sure that all the goals I'm setting for the year are aligned with moving me a little bit closer to achieving that vision, right? So here's what I want to invite you to do. Is this can be kind of overwhelming. Like, hey man, that's a lot of goals, right? How are you going to get all those done? Well, if I were to, in an extreme method, say, hey, I'm going to put a gun to your head and you're only allowed to choose 3 to 5 goals, that if you only accomplish those 3 to 5 goals this year, you would feel that those are the most important goals to getting that much closer to your 3 to 5 year vision. So I narrowed down the top 3 to 5 goals that are stepping stones to getting you closer to there. So for example, I'm just going to share with you guys my goals. I'm going to be fully transparent. These are my top 3 to 5 goals. One of these, and these are in no specific order, right? These are just the top 3 to 5 goals. One is a revenue goal for my business and the digital products that I want to sell. One is a family and a freedom and a lifestyle, traveling with my girls and taking a trip with my mom and a trip with my dad and a trip with my friends or my accountability group and maybe 2 other growth events. One has to do with my health, right? And where I want to be at by the end of the year. One has to do with kind of my passive income and my investment goals. And then one has to do with kind of a passion project, is writing my book and getting the Rich Life book completed. So now that I know what my top 3 to 5 goals are that I'm focusing on this entire year, right? So we just narrowed the scope is what we did. So instead of it being overwhelming, oh my gosh, how am I going to do all these goals? Because you're in pursuit of and throughout the year, going to still try and go after as many of these goals as possible, right? But we want to keep the focus on where it needs to be. So the top 3 to 5 goals here. Now, what I want you to do is let's chunk it down even further. Let's go into identifying where do you need to be at the end of the quarter, that if those goals were completed, you would be on track to still hit your annual goals for the year. You guys tracking with me? Give me a couple head nods just so I know you guys are with me. Cool. All right. So with that being said, now I've identified, hey, if I get these 5 goals done by the end of this quarter, I'm going to be on pace to hit my annual goals, right? So it forces you to think, which can be hard. It takes some time. I probably edited this document 15 to 20 times over the month of December, right? And I still find myself tweaking it a little bit here and there. So just know that this is going to continue to evolve. You may go, I'm not a good goal setter. I don't understand how to do this. It's a time on task thing. Give yourself permission to not be okay, right? In the beginning, you are going to suck. And then you're going to keep doing it and you're going to suck a little bit less. And then you're going to keep doing it more and more until you actually find yourself getting good at it and enjoying it, because you're going to get the results, right? And be more in a power position to go out there and make the decisions that are aligned with these things. So I just want to give you guys that permission to say, hey, I'm going to suck in the beginning of this if this is something that you haven't done, right? And if it's something that you are doing on, it's a, hey, I can keep getting better and optimizing and tweaking this to keep strengthening that muscle the more that I do this, right? Staying intimate with this process. So now that I have what my top 5 goals are for the quarter, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is what I call the extra mile of goal setting. And I can tell you this right now, 99% of people that I talk to and show this go, holy cow, dude, that's pretty intense. And guess what? That's when I get a little bit excited inside, because that's when I know that I'm doing stuff that 99% of the world is not willing to do, right? And if we want to live that life for us, that is that 1% lifestyle. Doesn't mean it equates to money. It's just our definition of that 1% lifestyle. You got to be committed to some kind of discipline that is going to get you in that position. My daughter's trying to FaceTime me right now. Oh, that's great. She's 4 years old. I have no idea how she's FaceTiming me from her iPad, but that's pretty cool. All right. So with that being said, now that I know what my top 5 goals are for the quarter, this is the extra mile, right? I use something that I call the SMART goal breakdown. And basically I take each and every one of these goals and I break it down. Where am I at today? And where do I need to be at by the end of the quarter in order for this goal to get complete? So now it forces you to go even that extra step of going, how am I going to do this? Right? It's not, oh, I'll figure it out and get it done along the way. I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to put in 40 hours a week. Well, what if you could do it in 10, right? A lot of people think that, by putting time into something that they deserve the result. Well, it's often you got to do what is required. What is required is different for everybody. And what is required may only require 5 hours a day instead of 40 hours a week, right? So it forces you to go through and really, based on your conscious mind, identify the steps of getting there. Then you can start stacking some dates next to it. And here's the other part of this process is instead of getting reactive when things happen and come at you, because they will. I mean, you're going to get tested. You're going to have, somebody get sick, or you're going to get sick and your week is going to be out the window, or, some client or deal is going to fall through and all of a sudden you're completely off track, right? Or some obstacle could prevent you from hitting that goal. What we want to do, and this is what the Japanese samurais used to do back in the day, they would go into days of meditation and they would go into battle in their mind for days on end before they actually went into battle on the war ground. And they would go through every scenario they could possibly think of in their mind before it actually happened. So when it did show up, one, they were either going to eliminate that obstacle before it even came up because they were going to navigate differently, or they knew exactly how they were going to get through it and move around it. So little extreme there, right? And this is something that you can apply to your goals too is, hey, this is my goal. What could prevent me from hitting this goal? Right? If you're trying to invest in real estate, hey, I don't have enough money right now, or I don't have this resource, a contractor, I don't have, this system in place, right? We can start identifying these things before they even happen and start planning for it so we can go and attack it instead of being reactive to it. So this is what the SMART goal breakdown is. And instead of doing it for 50 goals like you set at the beginning of the year, just pick your top 3 to 5. And all you got to do is get very specific and break this process down. So I'll just show you guys right here, right? So for example, one of my quarterly rocks for this quarter is I got to complete the goal course and our new 2020 planner and journal design by the end of this quarter to kind of keep us on track for the timeline we laid out for the year. So now I wrote down, hey, these are all the things that I need to get done between now and the end of the quarter. And here is the timeline that they need to get done by, right? Then you can go through and start identifying whether it's you, whether it's a team member or a family member, whoever it may be, right? If you want to delegate and give ownership to that task to help enroll them in the goal. The part of this process that I think is really powerful is it gives everybody clarity, right? So now, one, it becomes very clear whether you're on track or off track. So you can stop hiding behind the feelings that you have and just allow the data to tell you, are you on track or are you off track, dude? You said you're supposed to be here by January 11th and have this and this done. Is it done or is it not done? No, it's not done. Okay, so then you're off track. What do we got to do to get back on track, right? Instead of going, yeah, I'm on track, and then all of a sudden, 2 months roll by and you're still on track, and yet a lot of these milestones are not being hit. Well, we know that that's not the truth, right? So this is a process that allows you to be very clear on what it is. It also allows you to become very accountable, not only to yourself, but now, like in my accountability group, we set all of us follow this process, it's very clear when somebody needs to be called out, and we know whether they're on track or off track. So now you can enlist support and accountability in helping you stay on track with your goals as well, right? Because then once you have all of these dates, guess what? Now you can just put these into your monthly calendar. You can plan it out into your weekly agenda, and it just becomes a little bit of maintenance each and every week or each and every month, right? A little bit of planning that puts you in a position to stay in front of things instead of behind and reacting to things. So this is the process that I go through every single year. And this is the full document that I did for my goals, right? And it takes a little bit of time, but I can tell you every single one of my team members in my company that are enlisted in these goals, my wife who is enlisted in these goals, myself who's enlisted in these goals, my accountability partners who are enlisted in these goals, everybody knows how Maddie's going to get to this year, and they can support me as best as they possibly can to staying on track with this. Now I can say yes to the things that are ultimately in alignment with it, and I can say no to the things that aren't, and it becomes that much easier to put myself in that position, which you guys can do this exact same thing for yourself. Before we, I want to leave a couple minutes left for questions, so we'll leave 10 minutes for this. I just want to share this with you as well. Once you know what your goals are, then you want to pair a routine and habits that ultimately align with it the best, right? So this is just a daily habit and routine tracker that I live out of every single day. And I think Rhonda talked a little bit about this. Tim talked a little about this. Like this tool, and just in general, I know Brett talked about this, is just being aware and engaged, or John Vroman always talks about like being in the front row. You want to be in the front row of your own life, right? You don't want life just coming at you and you just opting in by default to everything that's happening around you. You want to be in charge. And so this routine, and I'll just flip over to mine, right? These are my routines and habits. So as you can see here, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. this week instead of 4:30. I can't hide behind this stuff, right? But I know that these routines, when I crush most of these days and I see a lot of green, most of the time, I'm going to go out and be the most energized, aligned, excited, happy, fulfilled Matt, which when my routine has me in that space, I'm going in here and I'm crushing my daily goals, which tie into my weekly goals, which tie into my monthly goals, which tie into my quarterly goals. And you can see over here, which tie into my annual goals, right? I keep the stuff in front of me every single day. So it seems obsessive, and I will tell you that I'm obsessed with the life that I want to have. And I'm also extremely grateful and connected to the journey and the life that I'm enjoying right now, right? So I don't want this to become so obsessive that it's checking a box every single day for some people, right? And yet I want to optimize and maximize the opportunity and the life and the impact and the income and the freedom and the travel that each and every one of us can experience and enjoy based on our own definition of what that looks like. And sometimes just a few extra tools and resources will help you do that. So this is just my process. I would say this to everybody is use the process that works for you, right? But I think we all know when we're not playing full out. And I think we all know when we could be giving more or stepping our game up or 2.0ing ourselves. And these are the tools that help me do that. So whether it's this tool, the Rich Life Plan, or another goal setting system, I think it comes back to the really one foundational principle, which is self-discipline. Whether it's self-discipline and sitting in meditation for an hour, whether it's self-discipline and waking up at a certain time, whether it's self-discipline and eating right, whatever it may be, if you can build self-discipline in certain areas of your life that are aligned with the life that you're, one, enjoying living, and two, looking to optimize and get better at and go towards, right? You're going to now start building self-respect for yourself, that self-love, and ultimately, I think what everybody's chasing, which is that fulfillment and that happiness. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. I appreciate you guys listening. And if there's any questions or feedback or things that you guys need that I can support you on, please let me know, as I'm happy to do that. So I'll turn it back over to you.
That was fantastic. I want to let some people know that both Maddie and Tim have volunteered their time for one lucky person who is going to go through our goal getting challenge. So we'll give some details after the Q&A, but I just want to let you know that if you are like, man, that was good, I want more, you're in luck. We've got some good stuff for you coming days. So I'll open it up to you guys. If you guys have questions, you can either throw them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away.
Yeah, I got a question for Maddie. How do you, or what do you do on a regular basis to ensure that you're tracking your goals and like checking the boxes? Like, what do you do to make it easy?
Yeah, so this that spreadsheet that you saw, it's basically on an open tab or window on my computer at all times, right? And I also have it on Google Docs on my phone. So I have an alarm set on my phone, a reminder every single day for 6:30 a.m. to update my routine and habit or my routine and goal tracker, and at 9 p.m. every night to update my routine and goal tracker. And then it just kind of becomes second nature, right? It's like before the alarm even goes off, I'm just checking in and naturally by habit, right, engaging with the things that I know I need to engage with. So you want to set up tools or triggers that, you know, kind of give you like your bumpers, right, that keep you, I know for me in the beginning when I was learning how to bowl, right, it was like, well, I don't want to end up in the gutter every single time. I want to hit some pins. I may not be bowling strikes, but those are my bumpers, right? And then over time, it's like, I know I'm bowling down the middle of the lane most of the time. So for me, it's just setting those alarms. It's having it open and in proximity to me. And by having it in proximity to me, I am able to go in there and just kind of update those things. I will say this, I'm not 100 for 100, right? There are days that I miss it. On the weekends, I do a lot of no tech time. So I'm spending time with my daughters and my wife and being fully engaged. So with that kind of stuff, you know, there'll be days that I miss stuff. So I think it's also part of this is like not getting too obsessed with it, right? And giving yourself permission to mess up. But more importantly, just winning more than you lose, right?
Great question, Julian. Who else?
Hey, Maddie. One thing I've been trying to help a lot of my friends that aren't in a community like this set their goals this year. So I've been kind of sending them my goal sheet, and a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing from them, they have like a lot of goals that are kind of like daily or multiple times a day. Like, for instance, they want to, it could be as small as they want to keep their room clean or keep their kitchen clean, or, you know, these kind of like smaller tasks. I want to be 5 minutes early for a meeting. And so I'm finding that they're having so many of those things that it's almost impossible for them to keep track of everything.
Yep.
So the suggestion that I made for them is have your goals and then have your intentions. So for me, I'm not good at being on time. So my intention for the year is to be 5 minutes early for everything. But like, I'm not going to track, you know, 8 to 10 times a day, every single meeting and you know, mark if I'm not, because that's just ridiculous. But I look at my intentions every day, and so I have my top 10 intentions for the year. So do you think that's a good way to do it, or do you have a different suggestion for like smaller tasks like that? Or
Yeah, you know, that's actually a good question, and I would just invite them to say that's playing way too small, and throw that back on them as kind of like the leader to be like, let's think way bigger. Like, you know, you showing up, that's just us building better habits and better discipline. Right. And so if that's saying a daily affirmation of, hey, I'm always punctual and on time versus tracking that, it's such a microscopic goal that it's not going to have the impact or the result that they're ultimately looking to get out of that. So I would tie it to something much bigger and kind of invite them to play bigger. Right. Always, you know, I have this over my goal board on the thing. It's like, think bigger. That's a thing that we're always talking about and doing, is like invite people to think bigger for themselves, for their goals, for their habits, for their disciplines. And I can tell you as a leader, like you are, Lucas, to give somebody permission to think bigger and to challenge them that way. And then by doing that, they're going to be so excited and thankful to you. And sometimes people just need that extra little nudge. So I would say get out of the dirt on that side of the goal planning and tie it to a much bigger goal. Like, what is the impact by you showing up 5 minutes earlier gonna do and provide for you? And therefore, you know, you can really tie it to more of a quantifiable goal instead of such a small, minute, you know, task or intention, I guess.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, Maddie, great question, Lucas. You alluded to a few times your mastermind group, the guys you go over this stuff with. For somebody that's not a part of a mastermind, what do you suggest they do, and how do you suggest they show up?
Yeah, I mean, find a mastermind. I mean, that's the easy answer, right? Like, and I wouldn't look at it as as an expense. It's a true investment, right? And there's small price type masterminds or group accountability, group coaching type communities. I mean, shoot, One Life, you got to go out and seek and find these individuals. They're not just going to pop on your lap. Like Tim Rowe didn't just pop on my lap one day. I was letting everybody in my world know this is what I was looking for, and this is where I wanted to go in my life, and this is what I need. And all of a sudden I had Brandy Salazar pop up and go, you got to talk with my man, Tim, right? So you have to let your intentions, your goals, your dreams be known, and you got to go out and relentlessly pursue them. Like, this stuff isn't just going to come to you. So I think when it comes to finding a accountability group, this community right here is a perfect place to start, right? Is to go out there and say, hey, I'm really looking for X, Y, and Z in an accountability partner. And then all of a sudden, maybe one other person wants to join in. Like, our accountability group has evolved and strengthened over the last 3.5, 4 years. And it wasn't on accident. I mean, it was a lot of intentional people getting together. So I think it's the birds of a feather flock together mentality, and starting there. And then really, like, you got to show up. Nobody wants to be around a flake. I remember David Osborne said this to me. He goes, I love mentoring you, Maddie, because it's like a game of chess. Like, I move, and then I see you move, right? And then I want to help you again. So I move, and then I see you move again, right? So it requires you to consistently keep showing up in those relationships. Nobody wants to hear somebody talk, and nobody wants to, it's got to be backed up with the action. So you got to go seek it, but you also got to really, really show up in it consistently.
Anybody else? I got a few more. So another question is, how do you weigh up between checking the boxes of the goals you want to do and being in the present moment as much as you can? And just you both talked about the samurais. Rhonda talked about be overdue. And I think for a lot of us, that's a really hard juggle.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. That's a struggle of mine, and, being fully transparent, right? It's like, constantly.
I thought you had an answer.
It's constantly the balance of chasing what is and enjoying what is, right? Or chasing what you desire and enjoying what is. So I know for me personally, I just know my weaknesses, and therefore I set up triggers and spaces to eliminate those things. So for example, most people will not, like, this is me me sacrificing something that I normally sacrifice, which is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is no tech time. I don't spend any time with anybody but my girls and my wife. So I think it's, really creating spaces that allow you to just be and enjoy and not put so much pressure on yourself to go out and do all of these things, right? So I think it's, I love what Rhonda just said. It's like, enjoy your desire, chase what is, right? Like, we're constantly seeking something externally, when a lot of what we're looking for and a lot of the feelings that, we think we want or need, we already got within us, right? We just got to kind of create some space for allowing ourselves to enjoy it. So there's your answer right there. Enjoy your desire, chase what is.
That's amazing. Look at that turn of words. Good for you, Rhonda. Cool. Does anybody have any other questions? This has been great. Maddie and Rhonda.
I'm going to call it, Tim, because we're already at the hour mark, and we've got just a few more announcements. So what I'd say is, I know Shannon, I believe it was Shannon, she wanted Maddie's document. So I'll follow up with that and send that out as well. But I would encourage you guys, we are about to launch the 15-day goal-getting challenge, because Tim has really talked about this community being a great place of people to do it with, and so we've been working behind the scenes to create something, an online community that's a little bit easier. And so if you go to onelifefullylived.org/challenge, you can get into the goal-getting challenge in here. And in here, there's a bunch of resources. So Maddie actually gave his planner for free, which is exciting. So you guys can go in here and all the links and stuff. There's even a picture. So if you want, like, I was just thinking about, who was talking about it? Lucas was talking about his friends. You know, this is actually a really great way to, your cover photo is a great way to be able to share it, but it actually makes it really easy to send it to people as well. So if you want to invite people, there's actually a really easy way to invite people to the challenge. And I haven't mentioned that the best part is that the people who participate are actually going to get a chance to, the grand prize winner will get a coaching call with Maddie A, and also get a coaching call with Tim Rudd. So that's like close to a couple of $1,000s worth of coaching. And all that you're gonna have to, all that the challenge is working Maddie's Rich Life Planner and going through the system and doing it for yourself. So it's onelifefullylived.org/challenge. It's free to join. All the resources are in there. And it's 15 days, and we'll be announcing the winner, I guess, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I'm disappointed I can't compete. So some of you guys got to go out there and win these.
When does this start?
It starts. I anticipate it starting tomorrow. So all the stuff is in there. It's ready to go. You go to onelifefullylived.org/challenge. You can join, and we'll be delivering daily content. There's a bunch of resources already in there, so it'll be fun. Oh, and I didn't mention that we also have a runner-up winner. So the way that it works is Maddie did a great job of putting together a planner that has quite a few different things to work on. So day number 1 will actually be setting goals. Day number 2 will go over January. Day number 3 we'll talk about things like affirmations. Day 4 is habits. And so each day of the challenge will actually help you fill out a different part of the planner. And in order to participate, if you just respond, you get a point. If you share a picture, we'll give you 2 points. Or if you respond with a video and kind of share your experience, we'll give you 3 points. And at the end of the contest, everybody who has more than 10 points will get into a hat, and we'll have a drawing on Facebook Live. And so there'll be lots of opportunities to win, tons of free resources, and it'll be a great way to hit your goals with other people. You know, I know that was a big reason why I hung on to One Life, was because in my, quote unquote real world, or in the people around me, I didn't have a group of people who were excited about hitting their goals or excited about going after something bigger. So it'll be fun, 15 days, and we'll give away some cool stuff as well.
Sounds great. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being on. We love this community. Does anybody have any parting words, or did anybody want to do a quick spiel before we go? You're welcome.
Thank you. It was really inspiring. I really enjoy these. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Steve.
Right
hey, you
on,
guys,
Steve.
Tell your friends just starting out. Yeah, let's get some just starting out peeps on here. There's a lot on their way and well on their way. And One Life, we're all levels of mastery. Okay. Yep. So bring somebody that you think this would be really good for, And by the way, they have to be a seeker. If you drag them to this call and they're not interested,
right.
Anyway, we love all